With leagues coming to a close in various countries across Europe, some have been safely won. PSG, Barcelona and Liverpool all safely got over the line with matches to spare, but they're not as interesting as when a team seems to have it in their hands but then throw it away. I'm not going to include Aguero here because it's too obvious, and if we're being completely honest, Man City won it rather than Man United throwing it away. So with that in mind, here are 8 occasions a team has thrown the league away dramatically. Number 8. Ajax 2025. The most recent entry on this list is Ajax, who, after a difficult couple of years, which I wish somebody had made a video about it looked like Ajax were coasting to the league in 2025. Heading into the last handful of matches, Ajax hadn't lost in the league for 4 months and would surely make amends for their 5th place finish in 2024. So how they'd throw this one away, I actually don't know. After getting smashed in Europe by Frankfurt, within the space of 3 weeks they contrived to get battered 4-0 by Utrecht, draw at home to Sparta Rotterdam and then lose 3-0 at home to Nijmegen, a team with 30 odd less points. But PSV didn't let their own European smashing get in the way. Apart from losing to Ajax in March, they won every match after that point to overtake Ajax with 1 game to go, courtesy of Ajax conceded the 99th minute equaliser to Groningen, who didn't even have 11 men on the pitch, which meant that PSV only had to equal Ajax's score when they played Sparta Rotterdam in the last game of the season. And they did, as that's why they're in this list really. But it's mad to think that Ajax were 9 points clear with only 5 matches left before they hit the self-destruct button, and even the PSV players were surprised. PSV's run had a 99th minute winner of their own in a match they were losing 2-0, which for context was the first time in nearly 33 years that Feyenoord had lost in the league when they were ahead at half-time. Number 7. Internacional 2021. Over to Brazil for sun, sea, sand, samba and a ridiculous climax to the season in 2021 in a fight between Flamengo and Internacional. In a season impacted by Covid disruptions with the season dates being changed, matches came thick and fast and both teams changed their managers mid-season, Flamengo changing theirs not once but twice. Eventually being managed by ex-Brazil legendary goalkeeper and scorer of over 100 goals in his career, Rogério Ceni. Flamengo got dumped out the Cup and the Copa Libertadores but could now focus on the league. Internacional were top of the league for 6 weeks, but in the penultimate match they were top of the league by a point when they visited Flamengo. A win for them would win them the title. They went a goal ahead but bottled it, had a player sent off and lost 2-1, giving Flamengo a 2-point lead going into the last match. Flamengo had to beat Sao Paulo to guarantee the title, especially as Inter had a better goal difference, but Flamengo lost 2-1, giving Inter the chance to overtake them again right at the death. In Inter's final match against Corinthians there was plenty of drama. They hit the woodwork, had goals disallowed, a penalty taken away by VAR, but couldn't stick the ball into the net. Okay, I'll stop now. When Flamengo's match had finished, the Inter match was still being played, so the Flamengo players were nervously watching the Inter match on their phones. Inter had a goal disallowed for a tight offside and with the last kick of the season missed a good chance to snatch the win before the final whistle blew. 0-0. A result that meant that despite their last day loss to Sao Paulo, Flamengo had won the title by a single point. It was their 2nd title in a row, and as for Inter, it means that by throwing it away in the last 2 matches, they still haven't won the league since 1979. Number 6. AZ Alkmaar 2007. Back to the Netherlands for the 2006-07 season, and going into the last match, 3 teams were all level at the top, with AZ, Ajax and PSV all on 72 points. PSV had stormed ahead earlier in the season but bottled it with some patchy form, and now had to beat Vitesse in their last match and pray other results went their way. Problem is, it was a guaranteed title gift wrapped for AZ, who were already top on goal difference and seemed to have the easier match against Excelsior, who after the match would go into the relegation playoff. The champagne was on ice, the celebrations could begin. Except they couldn't. Not only were AZ drawing 2-2 going into the 94th minute, they then contrived to concede another to Excelsior to lose 3-2, whilst their opponents both won their matches. The final day results meant that PSV jumped from 3rd to 1st and won the league by a single +1 goal difference. This would have been only AZ's 2nd ever title win. They did eventually get that 2nd win 2 seasons later and they haven't won another since, although finished runners-up in 2020 when the season ended early due to Covid. And guess what? They finished 2nd that season on goal difference as well, although as the league was stopped, Ajax weren't officially named champions anyway. Number 5. Eintracht Frankfurt 1992. We head to Deutschland for the end of the 91-92 season. Similar to the last one, going to the last match, 3 teams are level at the top, and it'll surprise you to hear that Bayern weren't one of them, as Eintracht Frankfurt, Stuttgart and Borussia Dortmund were all sitting pretty on 50 points. Don't sound a lot, but don't forget in the black and white days of the 90s it was just 2 points for the win. An easy league win would surely follow for Frankfurt, whose last match was a seemingly easy one against Hansa Rostock, who were a match away from relegation. And of course Eintracht managed to lose their hopeless relegation fodder 2-1. And of course their rivals won both their matches, with Stuttgart winning only their second ever Bundesliga by beating Bayer Leverkusen. Agonisingly, this was the closest Frankfurt would come to winning the Bundesliga at any point in their history, but they did win the Europa League in 2022, so that's alright then. Number 4. Barcelona, 2007. In the 2006-07 season in Spain, Barcelona was sat on the throne at the top of the league for much of the season, until right near the end, when Real Madrid beat Barca's rivals Espanyol to overtake them, to sit at the top of the league for the first time all season. This is where it got a little bit fun. Going into the penultimate match, both teams were level at the top of the league, with Sevilla only a couple of points behind, so any one of the 3 could win the league. Espanyol scored first against Barcelona, and 2 minutes later, Zaragoza scored against Madrid from the spot. With Sevilla drawing, their top 3 were unchanged, with the only difference now being that Sevilla were only 1 point behind. Then the drama really began. Messi equalised for Barcelona with a controversial goal to send them top, and in the 57th minute he scored again to put Barca in the lead, and also 3 points ahead in the table. But then Ruud van Nistelrooy did what Van Nistel the Pistol did best, scoring for Los Blancos to inch them closer to the top, until Zaragoza scored again against Madrid in the 64th minute, a goal which was cheered by the Camp Nou crowd. The crowd were restless in the 89th minute when Van Nistelrooy scored again, levelling the match at 2-2 and back on 73 points. Then in the final minute, Espanyol scored against Barca to equalise at 2-2. Meaning that not only did Barca concede to their local rivals, but meant that going to the final matches, both teams were level on 73 points. I'll pause here for a quick note on La Liga. If teams can't be separated by points, the next criteria is head-to-head points and then head-to-head goal difference. Something that Madrid had the advantage for, as they'd drawn 1 and won 1 earlier in the season. So Barca went into the last match praying for a miracle in the other match. And Barca were keeping their end of the bargain by scoring 3 first-half goals against Gimnastic, and over in Madrid, Real conceded early against Mallorca, putting Barca firmly on track to win the league. But 3 goals in the last 20 odd minutes, 2 from the late Jose Antonio Reyes, meant that Madrid leapfrogged Barca into top spot by virtue of their head-to-head results, meaning that Barca's final result of 5-1 against Gimnastic was for nothing. There's ways of winning the league, and then there's ways of winning it over your great rivals. Number 3. Celtic, 2005. The year 2005 is probably not fondly remembered in certain parts of Glasgow. Going into the last match, Celtic were top with a 2-point lead over their great rivals Rangers, and with both teams leading 1-0 going into the final minutes of their matches, Rangers against Hibs, Celtic against Motherwell, it looked like Celtic would be celebrating another league title. Scott McDonald had other ideas. He equalised for Motherwell against Celtic in the 88th minute, and at this point Celtic dropped down to second on goal difference. Celtic pushed for the winner, but just 2 minutes later as the clock struck 90, McDonald scored his second to hand the title over to Rangers by a point. The match would later be known as Helicopter Sunday, as the chopper that was carrying the league trophy to Celtic had to change direction mid-flight to take it to Ibrox, into the hands of Rangers captain Barry Ferguson. And guess who Scott McDonald played for after Motherwell? Celtic, of course. Number 2. Schalke, 2001. Germany's own Aguero moment happened in 2001. Going into the last match, Bayern led Schalke, remember them, by 3 points, but with an inferior goal difference. While Schalke were beating Unterhaching, news filtered through the 90th minute goal for Hamburg against Bayern. In a perfect example of how you can celebrate too early, the crowd stormed the pitch in Premiershire celebration. But just moments later, Bayern won an indirect free kick in the Hamburg penalty area after goalkeeper Matthias Schürrle handled the back pass to give Bayern an opportunity in the final seconds. The ball was laid off to the excellent Swedish defender Patrik Andersson, who smashed the ball in for his only ever Bayern goal in the league. The ref couldn't even be asked to resume the match after that, and Bayern celebrated their title win by 1 point. The best part about this is that goalkeeper Schürrle was on loan at Hamburg from Schalke. Yikes. Number 1. Liverpool, 1989. We now go back a couple of years before the invention of football to the end of the English First Division season in 1989. Arsenal and Liverpool were the 2 teams at the top of the table. Liverpool were top by 3 points, and Arsenal had to win by at least 2 goals to give them the title, in a match which was a month late due to the tragic events at Hillsborough. Arsenal weren't given a hope, with Liverpool favourites having won the previous season's title, and also the European Cup just a handful of years before. Not only that, but Liverpool were also fresh off the back of winning the FA Cup against the rivals Everton, hadn't lost by 2 or more goals at Anfield for nearly 4 years, and Arsenal hadn't won there in 15 years. It was all set up to be the crowning moment on Liverpool's league season. But matches aren't played on paper, they're played on the pitch, and George Graham's tactical masterclass worked wonders, changing shape to suffocate Liverpool's attack. Alan Smith grabbed a goal in the 53rd minute, yes, the guy who used to the commentary on FIFA, to set up an interesting end to the season. And moving into the 91st minute, Liverpool was still going to be champions. Even the commentators said about how Arsenal hadn't done enough.
I think in a way, if Arsenal are to lose the championship, having had such a lead at one time, it's somewhat poetic justice that they have got the result on the last day, even though they're not to win it.
That is until Mickey Thomas scored in those last seconds after questionable defending to snatch the title from Liverpool.
It's up for grabs now!
This result meant that both teams finished level on points and goal difference, with Arsenal winning the title on goals scored. Although legendary manager Don Revie died the same day, the match later inspired the classic book Fever Pitch by Nick Hornby, which was made into a film. And 2 years later, Mickey Thomas left Arsenal to move to Liverpool. Thanks for watching. Please do give me a like if you like this video, give me a thumbs down if you didn't, subscribe for more stuff as I've got a load of ideas jumping about in my head. But above all, have a great day and I'll see you soon.